What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time that we continue, or actually we begin to discuss about the NBA draft and finally talking about some draftee selections that the Chicago Bulls may be able to do with that 18th overall pick. Now, at the end of the day, the Chicago Bulls can pick a variety of positions in terms of the NBA draft. I do feel like we do need a lot of positions on this team at the moment, considering certain players might leave and certain players will stay on the Chicago Bulls team. I guess it will all be decisive based on that. But today I'm going to be talking about a center who played for Duke, ladies and gentlemen, and his name is Mark Williams. Now, before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Mark Williams as the 18th overall pick for the Chicago Bulls. Does that sound good to you guys? Would you take Mark Williams with that pick? And if you don't, what are the other options around the NBA draft and the selections that we could possibly make that would entice you with that 18th overall pick? I feel like that's the most important thing at the end of the day. So, Mark Williams, 2 years out of Duke. I think the first thing I want to get out of the way is that I do respect a young guy, especially, that is going to take an extra year in Duke to develop his game over going straight to the pros. I do feel like at times when players are facing that decision, it's one of the harder decisions to make in your career, especially because it's at the very beginning as well. If you enter the league and you're not ready to really play in the league, that could ruin the confidence for the rest of your career. Maybe you just don't live up to the hype that was projected on you. So Mark Williams, again, probably wasn't ready to go into the pros the first year. Came in the second year, improved in almost every single category you could ask from him, and now he feels like he's ready to enter the pros, enter the NBA, and hopefully have a good stint in the NBA as well. I always respect guys that makes that tough decision. That's one of the big reasons I respected Io as well, and look how he's turned out in terms of being an all-rookie second-team player for the Chicago Bulls. I do respect those guys that are willing to make the tough decisions, sacrifice the money for an extra year, go to college, improve your game, and hopefully that will be beneficial for the rest of his career. Looking at his stats for Duke, he played 39 games, I believe, for Duke, ladies and gentlemen, and his season averages were 11.2 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, 0.9 assists, shooting 72.1% from the field. Didn't take or make a three for Duke this year. Most important stat, I guess you could say, in terms of Mark Williams and why I think he's personally a guy that the Chicago Bulls would be very interested in. He averages 2.8 blocks per game for Duke. And at the end of the day, that fits a necessity that the Chicago Bulls are looking for. That is a rim protector, and that is a shot blocker for the Chicago Bulls. We absolutely need to fill that position. At the end of the day, we already have a center that is a guy that can spread the floor, score in a variety of ways, a very good rebounder as well. He is that type of guy, Nikola Vucevic, I'm talking about, if you didn't know. We already have that type of player. We don't have a player that's very agile and can switch positions a lot, which I think Mark Williams isn't afraid to do. Not something that we should be doing constantly, because again, he is a 7-footer. As agile as you are, you're not as agile as guards and forwards around the league, but he's not afraid to be in that position. What I also like about Mark Williams as well is that he is fairly athletic for a 7-footer as well. The positives to take out of Mark Williams' game, especially offensively, because defensively, again, he's a rim protector. He's someone that can try to lock down the post a little bit more as well. He is a dunk threat and an alley-oop threat that to the likes that we need as well. We don't have many of them out there, especially at that center position for the Chicago Bulls. So that, if let's say Alonzo Ball is bringing it up the court, there's an alley-oop threat there that we can provide in Mark Williams, and most of the time he will be able to, I guess, dunk it down and try to get a posterizer of some sort. He can do that for Duke. He's done that for Duke all year. He's a very big alley-oop threat. He's a very big dunk threat. What I do like about him as well is that he's not a bad passer of the ball. He averages 0.9 assists for a center, which doesn't scream out massive numbers for you. But there were a couple of times, if you watch some highlights of Mark Williams, where he's put himself in a sticky situation and he's got out of it with a very good pass to a certain type of player. Or he does do like 1-2 type passes to get the ball back to maybe an inbounder and stuff like that. If you've seen those highlights, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't base it all on highlights, but that's definitely something to notice, that maybe that passing game could be further developed in the pros, in the NBA level, and especially with a team like the Chicago Bulls that I hope next year will be prioritizing ball movement over isolation. I hope Mark Williams can be part of that fray as the center position. I also like his ability to run the floor. He's very quick for a 7-footer. And that does come down to his frame. He's a little bit skinnier for his frame as well. I believe he weighs 243 pounds, which might not, again, scream skinny to you guys, but compared to other centers around the league, he might be seen as a little bit thinner. But again, every single year, if you look at his first year in college to his second year in college, you can see he's building up his frame a little bit more. So there's no issues, in my opinion, on his weight in the future. I do feel like that will get pretty much it'll be a non-issue over time. So again, the ability to run the floor is very important for the Chicago Bulls as well. I think that's what we really wanted out of this season. We wanted guys to run out in transition, not necessarily the center, but the center running down in transition could be very valuable at one stage or another for the Chicago Bulls as well. So we should be looking into that as well as a potential positive out of Mark Williams. Looking at some of his negatives, if you're expecting a massive offensive game from Mark Williams in the pros, I think you're going to be waiting a long time if it is going to happen. Let's be honest, he doesn't necessarily have the greatest mid-range. He didn't take a three-point shot in terms of Duke as well. He's not the best, I guess, floor spreader for the Chicago Bulls. He's not going to be out there spreading the floor, shooting mid-ranges left, right, and center. He does have a good free throw percentage, which is something I really do like about his game. 72% or 73% pretty much from the free throw line. For a guy that does play a little bit more in the paint, a paint scorer, a paint dominator, will probably get a lot more fouls than maybe other guys like a Nikola Vucevic on this team. Being able to knock down the free throw, very, very important for a Chicago Bulls team. That's something that Tristan Thompson wasn't able to do, and I think we did suffer a little bit because of that. So I'm really excited about that for Mark Williams in the NBA, but he's not a floor spreader. But I don't think we need him to be a floor spreader. At the end of the day, like I said before, we already have a center that can spread the floor. We already have multiple guys that can spread the floor a little bit. So I don't see Mark Williams needing to be that type of guy that can do that as well. I think that Vucevic and Mark Williams are completely opposite players. Mark Williams is more of a defensive type of player. I believe he was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Congratulations to him on that. Very, very important. And I think he's definitely deserved it as well. So, defensive-minded, more of a rim protector, can score around the paint, an alley-oop threat. Doesn't necessarily spread the floor very well, but I feel like that's a weakness that won't really matter for the Chicago Bulls. And all that being said, I guess the question really is, do you want to bring him in with the 18th overall pick? As I said before, it's very easy to link Mark Williams and the Chicago Bulls together because he's projected to go around that 18th overall pick, and the Bulls have the 18th overall pick. But I do feel like his strengths outweigh his weaknesses in terms of, I guess, wanting to select him with the 18th overall pick. So my answer is, being the first guy that we're talking about, a 7-footer, which is a need, a center, a need, a rim protector, a need, someone that can be an alley-oop threat from the center position. I don't think that's a need, but it's a very valuable asset to have. Yeah, I probably would take Mark Williams with the 18th overall pick in the NBA draft. Now, of course, as time goes along, as we do more scouting or more players, that may subject to change. But considering this is the first video I'm making, the first real research that I did on this player, I do think that at the end of the day, there can be a lot of positives to his game at the NBA level. We might not see 11.2 points and 7.4 rebounds from Mark Williams in the pros because he's going to be off of the bench. But we can see a little bit of positives in terms of the defensive end for the Chicago Bulls. And we could also see a few of those alley-oop threats that we probably would have needed in, I guess, last year. What we had with Daniel Gafford that we let go of, we could probably use with Mark Williams in this team as well. He's not as athletic as Daniel Gafford, at least from what I can see, but he's still fairly athletic in his own right, and he will be able to catch those alley-oops. So, I would take Mark Williams with the 18th overall pick, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like, as I said before, his strengths definitely outweigh his weaknesses. I guess most of his weaknesses does come down to putting on a little bit more weight. Because at the end of the day, on the defensive end, you're going to be guarding guys like Joel Embiid. You're going to be guarding guys like Nikola Jokic. Potentially even guys like a Rudy Gobert, who's a fairly strong guy as well. So you're going to be guarding a lot of 7-footers, a lot of strong, already built 7-footers. So for Mark Williams, over time, he's going to have to get a little bit more muscle on him so he can actually lock down the post like he did in college. So he can block shots like he did in college. Because those things might take a little bit of time to, I guess, come to the NBA level. But we've already seen he has great tenacity on the defensive end, and he will be a threat. Even at his size and even at his weight now, he will be a threat. But of course, that comes with developing over time. So yes, 100% I would Feel free to let me know in the next video that I make about, of course, the NBA draft selections and all of that. And in this video as well, more selections, more people to talk about. Because again, we want to have as much people discussed as physically possible in order to make the best decision for the Chicago Bulls, which I'm sure is exactly what they're doing as well. They're looking at every position. They're looking at every player that could potentially fall at that pick. They're looking at everything to see the best decision available. That might not be a center, but I do feel like a center is a strong topic of discussion that we need to continue talking about going forward. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any comments or critiques about my video today, feel free to let me know. At the end of the day, it's the first one talking about the draft in 2 years. I haven't made a draft video in 2 years. Let that sink in for a second, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't talk about the draft last year because we had a second round pick and I thought we weren't really going to talk much about it whatsoever. But the reality is, again, with the first round pick that we have, there are a couple of good guys in my opinion that we could select. It's going to take time for me to really, I guess, come into my own in terms of these videos, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care.